Happy Friday, everybody. Today is the second to last Friday of the year. We had another big week in the market, and I think you want to check in on Tuesday, not Monday, obviously, but for the Tuesday market update. As I do every week, I'm going to recap this week's market action, preview the last week of the year. The trading desk will be pretty bare, but as you know, I'm pretty confident that as the algos will be ready to trade if anything comes up. The markets are open till the final bell, 4 p.m. Eastern on Friday, this year, the 29th of December. So these days, we never know what to expect, and we can expect the unexpected. Today is December 22nd, 2023, and this is your second to last Friday planning video this year. Today, I want to talk about the extremes and what that means for you and I going into the year and the beginning of next year. Not to be political, so please don't read it as that. We have no middle ground anymore. Again, not being political, only in the economic and the financial planning side. If you have heard anything about the markets, if the economy, even just products and services in this industry, one thing I don't think you hear a lot of is, well, it's fine, not too good, not too bad, Goldilocks. As you may have heard me say, when it comes to eco data lately, this is the only place I seem to hear that. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. But as the Goldilocks eco data comes out, if you think it is that, the extremes come out to explain that data. I want to give you some examples, and we'll look to discuss a lot of this in the coming year. Let's talk about what the Fed says. Hey, they can't even stay on the same side anymore. Just 2 weeks ago, higher for longer was the rally cry, as the market ignored that, but it is what they kept saying. From the top, Jay Powell to many of the Fed heads, they were talking about the way that the market seemed to have it all wrong. As of last week, even Powell said they're talking about cutting rates. That's what can account for the market melt up into the end of the year. But even now, there are still the extremes, not just at the Fed, but in the research side too. The markets are calling for 6 rate cuts next year. Research too, Goldman has 3 quick ones early in the year, but another 3 before the end of the year. Then you have some of the Fed heads who are still pushing the too early to be talking about cuts narrative. Extremes. Let's talk about market calls. This is the time we get so many of them. Of course, if you're an asset manager, analyst, or pretty much any one of the chief strategists on Wall Street, this is when you publish your outlook for 2024. LPO is no different. You can access that on my website as well, but the extremes are there too. The titles go from the twilight zone at Russell Investments to a turning point from LPL and everything in between. There are even firms that are trying to be at both extremes. It seems that JP Morgan has one doom and gloom and one optimistic. So these are pretty much targets for the market, and they're all over the place. So add in the overall financial press. Some of my favorites are the ones who go to the extreme just to be on the extreme. Their calls are so out there and almost never happen, but they do make headlines, and that's how it works. But for those of you who want to blame that on the way things are now these days, it's not so new. In 1998, CIBC analyst at the time, Henry Blodgett, set a price target that made his name known. He upgraded a small little company called Amazon. It was already up over 250+% in the year. In the previous 6 months, he put a $400 target price on the stock. His target just the day before was $150. He was right, by the way, for a while. The stock got to that 400 level within 3 weeks of the call. But by the time the dot-com bubble burst, the stock went back to $10 by 2001. Obviously, a lot's happened since then to the stock and even to Blodgett, who agreed to a permanent ban from the industry in 2003 and a fraud settlement with the SEC. But that's just another example. This week, there were headlines from 2024 will be the biggest single crash year of our lifetime in the New York Post. 2, Fed starts to pivot to lowering rates from the Wall Street Journal. One of the biggest bulls on Wall Street, Tom Lee from Fundstrat, quote, "We see stocks surprising to the upside in 2024, close quote. The market calls are all over the place, from the low 3,000s for the S&P to over 5,000. Again, extremes. And one more before we wrap up, products. There are a few people who tell you that there are pros and cons of certain investment products. You normally get the extremes here too. This one is great, and one you should really have, or this one's horrible. And if you have it, we need to talk. Okay, so you get the picture. Middle ground, it's not easy to find. So this is when I'd like to you to take a step back. Take a deep breath, and let's go through options and ideas for the new year and your financial plan. Remember the process. Evaluate the goals. Set up a plan to meet those goals. Implement those plans. Review the progress of the plans, and make necessary changes, then rinse and repeat. As we wrap up the year with the extremes all around us, let's get together and review what we have in place and what we need to do to make the necessary adjustments. In a world of extremes, I want to stay focused. We need to review your goals, see what we need to do to meet those goals, or at least the steps we need to take to make that success possible, and then we exercise the process I just mentioned. So we're only a little over a week out from the new year. This is a time that is one of my favorite times, clearly not for the weather, although this year in Chicago seems nice at this point. This is the time we get to really refocus. So as we go into the long holiday weekend, enjoy your time, enjoy your family and friends, and if you're off Monday, as many of you are, enjoy the long weekend. Please come back on Tuesday for the market update. One last note, I'm working on a major reboot of the distribution of these videos, so watch for details on that. I also hope to add some special report videos next year on some of the important changes and updates that are coming your way, from estate planning laws to tax law changes. Important to note, I don't give tax or legal advice, but with your tax and legal advisors, we can act as a real strong team for you. Have a great long weekend, and we'll see you soon.